Hey, I saw this on Twitter today, so I wanted to share it with you. It's this guy who used to be a Democrat. He sounds like Jimmy Dore from 7 years ago. So after Bernie Sanders sold out to the Democratic Party, endorsed Hillary Clinton, and got absolutely nothing for his endorsement, he let them cheat him. He didn't make them get rid of superdelegates. He didn't make them get rid of corporate money. He didn't make them do anything to get his support. That's when I knew I was done with the Democratic Party. And this guy by the way, I took a lot of grief for that, but they're all coming around a little bit more than half a decade later. They're all coming around. Now, Anna Kasparian's not voting Democrat anymore.
We'll see.
Wait, is she flip-flop?
I guarantee
she's
you
like Fauci with masks.
She's like Fauci's with masks. She's going to vote for him. But here, this guy, by the way, ironically, this guy's name is also Kyle. Watch this.
Hi, my name is Kyle. I have been a registered Democrat for the last 22 years. I have voted in every election up and down from the state to local level that I could vote in. I campaigned for John Kerry and Barack Obama. This message is for the Democrats. I fucking hate you. I hate the fact that you've bamboozled us for so many years, touting progressive policies and giving us nothing. I hate the fact that there are so many broken campaign promises. I hate the fact that you've weaponized our rights to scare us into voting for you.
Yes, they have.
I hate the fact that you failed on protecting reproductive rights. I hate the fact
that's my fault. I did that. People blame that on me, so I'll take it.
That you support economic policies that actually produce the conditions that make fascism viable.
You mean the Democratic Party is actually playing a vital role in creating the fascism they claim to be fighting against? I can't believe that.
Dimensions of fascism.
Dimensions of fascism, as Cornel West says.
And you don't admit that. I hate the fact that you're classist and not actually egalitarian. I hate the fact that you don't support Medicare for all, housing for all, affordable to free secondary education. I hate the fact that you tout small incremental changes to the fabric of our society as a resounding success.
What do we want? Incremental change. When do we want it? In due time.
When people are still economically struggling and hungry. I hate the fact that you won't call a genocide a genocide. I hate you for supporting policies that produce more bombs and not food. I hate you for supporting the status quo and not for doing the right things to make everyone's life better. I hate the fact that you're not mature enough to receive criticism. And I hate the fact that you criticize the rest of us for being idealistic and wanting better for everyone. And I hate you for blaming your failings on procedural precedent, a majority of which is nothing more than rules that are holdovers from the Reconstruction era and Jim Crow.
Well, so is your president. But anyway.
Is he talking at the parliamentarian?
He's talking about the parliamentarian.
And you lost my vote, and you lost many people's vote, and that's your fucking fault.
Wow, this Kyle sounds smarter and less like a chump than the other blonder Kyles I know. I'll tell you that. That young man named Kyle right there is stating unequivocally, Kurt, that he is a racist, homophobic climate denier. We're not going along with the mainstream narrative. He's led by racist, homophobic climate destroyers. Yeah. How dare he feel betrayed by the people who betrayed him? How dare he have an opinion that goes beyond this week's news?
Well, democracy is at stake, Jimmy. So for him to fall down the alt-right pipeline now is
what that is.
Worst possible time for this.
This is the worst possible time. We have to, our democracy, we're going to lose it.
Yeah.
Let me bring in the voice from Due Dissidence. What do you have to say to this?
I don't know. This guy makes me a little nervous. You know, he could start a YouTube channel, dye his hair blonde, break up my marriage, marry my wife, and put us out of business in a few months. I don't like the looks of this. I don't know why we're featuring this, to be honest. It's making me a little insecure.
There's Kyle from the other side of a quantum split. This is Kyle from somewhere in the multiverse.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to the party, guy. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome to, yes.
I'm working on an article about this. You know, a lot of people, they call the people who just go along with the MSNBC non-player characters. And a big part of the trouble that the narrative managers are having now is guys like this who are self-described non-player characters, right? He's waking up to this. They're waking up because there's not enough in it for them anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't get a good job. They don't get any of the toys you're supposed to get for shutting up, keeping your head down, and repeating what you're told. And more of these people, the PMCs, are not PMCing. They're not going along. They're waking up. They're saying things. They're seeing Palestine and genocide and our support for it. It's creating a lot of cognitive dissonance for them. This is why Trump's winning, because they're losing these people, and these people are the backbone of the Democratic Party.
Well, well said. Here is speaking of Kyles. Here's another Kyle.
No.
This is the Kyle Kulinski, or the anti-Kyle Kulinski. He's going to show us the technique he uses to convince everyone that he's telling the truth. Watch this. And that technique is just mean the living shit out of what you're saying. And that's not easy because of all the living shit in what he's saying, but he's a real pro. Let's watch.
Why overwhelmingly do minorities and African Americans, Hispanic Americans, why are they still continuing to vote in large numbers in the Democratic Party?
Because they're a trillion times better than Republicans, and we have a two-party system. We don't have ranked choice voting. We still have first-past-the-post voting. So either the Republican or the Democrat is going to win, and minority communities have accurately come to the conclusion, oh, the Democrats are just way better. They're just...
So, wow, Democrats are a trillion times better than the Republicans, and they still suck this bad. So these last 3 years, you guys, we've been living in the trillion times better verse, according to Beach Kyle. This is like the Goofus and Gallant comics from Highlights magazine at the dentist's office when I was a kid. Goofus keeps telling people to vote Democrat. Gallant washes the shit out of his hair and grows a pair of grapes for once. So I think he's got a little more
way better. Like 98% of the Republican Party wants to cut Social Security, wants to cut Medicare, wants to cut Medicaid, and the Democrats don't. Some of them do, but the overwhelming majority of them don't. So maybe that's why. Maybe because they're better on a lot of substantive issues. Now, that's not to say they're good. That's not to say they're perfect. They're far from it. But if you do an objective empirical analysis as to whose policies help regular working class people of color more, it's not close. It's not close. So that's why, Sean, that's why they do it. Jesus Christ.
So I think Blonde Kyle makes a fair point here. For example, if you're a huge AOC fan like I am, you know Democrats are a trillion times better on important issues like sunscreen. And remember,
did you get that done?
Remember all those old jokes, Kurt, about how blondes are dumb because their hair bleach seeps into their brain through their scalp?
Yeah.
I think it's time to stop making those jokes and start researching this very real problem.
Yeah. There's some kind of connection, some kind of Project Monarch connection.
So Lacey McFadden says, every working class person needs to realize they want us to fight over race, sexuality, nationality, and all the other social issues. This is a distraction to keep us pointing the finger at each other instead of the people who actually oppress us all. The billionaire class, they understand once and for all that working class people come together, their days in power are numbered. Now, this was the point I tried to impress upon on Cornel West when he came on my show, and he pretended to be too stupid to understand what I was saying. That's exactly, and that's by someone named Lacey McFadden. Now, Cornel West, if he read that, he would say she likes Trump a little bit more than she's letting on, because that's what he said to me on this show, like a real motherfucker. And I ain't letting him forget about it. And the rest of nobody's paying attention to him. So I'm actually doing him a favor by keep bringing him up on this show that actually has relevance, unlike him. And, you know, people forget that guys like Cornel West, have been living in ivory towers his entire life. He grew up wealthy and has lived in. He's not a member of the working class. He never was, never will be. And that's why he can go out there and tout divisive politics and talk about trans issues and LGBTQ and talk about white supremacy, preach white supremacy. Why don't you go preach about white supremacy to a bunch of coal miners? Why don't you go do that? See how that goes over, you guy from fucking Harvard. Anyway, let me bring in the Due Dissidence. What do you have to say?
Well, I mean, with Cornell, you notice how he disappeared from independent media the second that he just took off the mask and made it clear he's not really running for president. He's just promoting himself, basically. You know, he just gave up all of his ballot access for what? What are you even talking about? Is he even trying to get on any ballots? I don't even understand why anybody's talking to him at this point. It's just a circus act now. In terms of what she's talking about, this woman here in this tweet, this is something I've been giving a lot of thought to lately, because when you look at this moment where so many people seem to be getting red-pilled by the genocide in Gaza, and you think about what the obstacles are to organizing a left movement, the obstacles are 20 plus years of people being conditioned to hate anyone who disagrees with them on any doctrinal point of identity politics. They've built a perfect bomb, a field of landmines into the left that make it almost impossible to really organize a broad left movement. And it's hard to believe that was not directed, because it is such a perfect trap.
It is directed.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I just want to remind people that Brianna Joy Gray, Bernie Sanders' old press secretary, Brianna Joy Gray debates Crystal Ball and Kyle Kulinski on pledging fealty to Biden. That's real. I'm mostly impressed with Crystal there because she's a successful working mom who still finds time to homeschool Kyle, and that's the beauty.
That's a whole Stepford Wives situation. It's really like she replaced him with an android.
It's conspiratorial is all the only way I can feel looking at him and his hair matching the wall in the thumbnail.
Yeah. Well, they're in the Brady Bunch house there.
I assume Crystal helped Kyle develop his new persuasive style of arguing like a 5-year-old. How much better are Democrats than Republicans, Kyle? A zillion billion times. Yeah, and also...
Well, this just brings into focus, I mean, all of those things he was talking about, all these domestic policy points, they love to bring up the NLRB, you know, and all of this stuff. And I think one of the reasons why they're having a hard time retaining the base is because a genocide kind of supersedes all of those things, right? Even if you can trick people into voting for Democrats because, well, they won't cut Medicare. I mean, some will. I don't understand. I mean, some will. Like, he doesn't live stream his show. He pre-records. So if you fuck up like that and you're like, well, they don't want to cut Medicare. Well, I mean, some do. At that point, just take it from the top, man. Like, we'd be lazy for it. Like, why would you go through that? Just, let me take that again and just get that right the first time. Like, if we fuck up, we're live, so we can't do that. We got to go back. But what is it? What excuse does he have for keeping that in there?
You saying it's a trillion times better also gets us to not good at all.
Yes.
That's an unbelievable it's an unbelievable tactic.
Yes, and also Trump is really bad, and then we went to Legoland, and then I got my booster, and then I got an ice cream.
Yeah.
Gosh, Kyle, sounds like you had a big boy day today. I see you got your hair colored too, huh? Go ahead, Russ.
I don't understand with shows like Kyle's or the Young Turks or the Majority Report. Why not just go to CNN? They have production values. I don't understand it. Is it just that you like to hang out in the chat? I don't understand why anybody would watch that.
Their MSNBC already exists. CNN already exists, and they're on
a job there.
I think maybe they are. Who knows? My theory is that some big Democratic donor has connections inside YouTube and Google, and they promised to give them better algorithm treatment because that's the only, because he couldn't gain a subscriber after he went against me and got ratioed on 2 different videos. He didn't pick up a subscriber for 2 years, and he had almost 0 views. And so now he's picking up subscribers again. He passed 1 million. And so that's the only thing that makes sense, is that some Democratic operative came to them and said, hey, if you start giving us better, look, your channel's dead anyway. So we'll give you.
He's a Brooklyn dad defiant.
He's a right. And we'll get, that's the only thing that could possibly make sense, is that they're giving them some special algorithm treatment. So now he's picking up subscribers again. And he's getting some kind of view count. Not much. He doesn't get half the view count I do, but he's still, it's better than it was. So it's the only thing that could possibly make sense, that why they would do that.
Why would you want to even be on YouTube if that's what you want to hear?
Why? I don't know. Why would you go on YouTube?
Why come to YouTube for that?
That's a shocker to me. I mean, I gotta admit, I do watch TYT from time to time just to see how big Jenks Uyghur's head can get. I didn't know his head has a gut. That's how, it's amazing.
He's more of a brawler.
His head has a gut now. You look at it, it's like he's got the back gut, he's got back fat on his head, and front fat. It's like, he's just not stopping. He's an emotional eater. It's obvious.
I'm voting for him no matter what happens. Just so everybody knows.
You sure they're not going to arrest you for that?
I'm going to ride to the booth on a horse and ride it home with tin cans.
But this is bad for the Democrats. Pre-boomer, Biden a pre-boomer. By the way, when they say Biden a pre-boomer, they mean the Big Bang. Biden a pre-boomer he's losing. Yeah, he's not a boomer.
He's a greatest generation.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, he's like 82. So. What's 2023 minus 82?
Yeah, he'd been born in like what, the...
Hey, Siri, what's
40?
2023
yeah,
minus 82?
That's a boomer. He's a boomer. He's like an old...
Because 1945...
1941, he was born 1941.
Yeah,
yeah, so he's a... Right? I mean, he's a...
Boy, we're a bunch of math surgeons
No,
over
that's
here.
pre-boomer. Boomer was the post-war baby boom.
Oh, post-war, right.
Because all the soldiers came home from the war
like
and got laid, and that's who the baby boom.
Yeah, he's like right on the cusp.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's before.
He's before it. That's yeah.
Well, that's the generation, they say, like the generation portrayed in American Graffiti was that generation. What they call them, the silent generation, the one like right before the boomers.
He's also.
I thought the greatest was the one before the boomers.
So he can't get young.
Yeah, there's this little like.
Let's move on from that topic, please.
Yeah, who cares?
He can't get young voters anymore. Jesus fuck. Which would that be? Generation X? Is that for after the boomer, pre-boomer, Gen X, Z? Is that Z or millennial? With Jesus fucking these guys.
Riveting content.
Arab American support for Biden Democrats plummets over Israel. So they can't get anybody. I can't imagine why the Arab Americans aren't supporting Biden anymore. And by the way, remember this? So this was after Donald Trump won the presidency. New York Times actually did a little journalism. They went to barbershops in the black and brown neighborhoods in Milwaukee and asked them, hey, how did you vote? Turns out none of them voted for Hillary. None of them voted for Hillary. Wow. How could you pass up the opportunity to vote for Hillary Clinton?
It's her time.
It was her time. That's like choosing between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. It's like choosing between dental surgery without anesthesia or having Mike Tyson beat your ass on an airplane all the way from Los Angeles to Seattle.
I'd take the Mike. I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Well, this is something that, the more affluent, more moderate white liberals don't understand, which is that, it takes a certain amount of privilege to have hope and to insist that everyone else have hope, right? Mm-hmm. And to people, when you lose hope, it's upsetting, but there's also something kind of liberating about that because you don't feel like you have to keep doubling and tripling down on an institution that very obviously doesn't give a fuck about you. In this case, Arab voters don't look at Donald Trump and see someone who they're going to vote for. They're actually organizing swing state boycotts of the Biden ticket. This is not just an enthusiasm drain or something like that. No, there's actually a proactive effort to flip the election to Donald Trump, not by voting for Donald Trump, but by leaving the presidential line on the ballot blank. And the reason they've done that is because they have come to the understanding, as many of us have, that you simply cannot endorse with your vote a party that in this case, in their case, is signing off on a mass slaughter of your own people. Like, you just have to say, we cannot, under any circumstances, go there. We cannot do that. We cannot endorse that, because once you endorse that, they know they have you. And they'll continue knocking the shit out of you. And you'll never be able to make anything better, because you'll never get out of that cycle of doubling and tripling down on a failed project. And I think this Israel-Gaza war has really been a major light bulb moment for a lot of Arab voters. Last I heard, only 17% of Arabs said they were going to vote for Joe Biden. 17. That's down from 59% in 2020. That is an unbelievably stunning drop.
That's somewhere around 42%. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I don't want to show off my math skills. But
42. Was that the silent generation or the
We're doing live comedy shows in Oxnard, California, Venice, California, Palmdale, California, Omaha, Nebraska, Des Moines, Milwaukee, Lansing, Michigan, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, and Boston. Plus, we're going to put a date in Edmonton, Canada, plus Vancouver. See ya. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.